Hello everybody, welcome to Monday the 14th of May 2018 and another update video with me, Dakian. And the painting progress has picked up a little bit since last week. I am going to show you a total of 8 models that I've done. 3 of them here in the center are from Spellcrow, and they are human miniatures, all of them. We have 2 armored knights here, and I assume they're knights because they have like shields with devices on them and that sort of thing. And a barbarian wielding a sort of staff weapon with some iron lumps on it. Now, I painted actually all of these. I tried to go for a somewhat more tanned skin tone here. A little bit darker. I hope it looks okay. Because I figured these are fighting men. They're out in the sun a lot. The trouble with a barbarian is always, how do you vary the colors? Because what are they wearing? Well, in this case, leathers and furs. All of it. And so it's different shades of brown. And I try to make, like, for example, his kilt is a little bit more gray, and there's a hint of green in the shoes, just to get some little other splashes of color. And these guys, they're interesting because I've gone back to some, what to me is an older technique of, I haven't speed painted them the way I often do these days, with just with glazing at the end. I've actually built with these like the tabard or robe and the cloaks. I've actually built them up by layering from dark to light, which is something I used to do religiously for everything. But now I kind of reserve it for these, specifically these kinds of surfaces, where it's more suitable. And well, you know, I realized once again that purple is a difficult color. I mean, I've gone for a pretty high contrast between the shading and the highlighting on the green here, for example, but the purple is much more subtle. I actually went higher with the highlights at first, but I just thought it looked bad, so I toned them down again. It's doing a light purple is just really hard. What can I say? All the other colors are easier. Like you can see, it's fairly high contrast on the red here as well. The blue, well, less so, but you know, I went for a sort of, because the cloak has this kind of tattered look with holes in it and frayed edges, I went for a pale, washed out color as a whole on the cloak, thinking that it's seen better days. So what else do we have? We have 3 Reaper zombies. These are largely painted with washes and glazes to make them look suitably dirty and grody, and to make the clothing look faded and worn as well, because it's just tatters. And I also added some blood effects to this exposed bone here, for example. I think it's more obvious on this guy. He has more exposed. He's got some guts hanging out, and you can see his spine here at the back. The spinal column is showing through. And yeah, this guy is wearing the least, but he's relatively, he's not as torn up as the others. But they were fun. I kind of like them. And oh, the flocking's falling off. And finally, I just very quickly painted up these 2 huge scorpions. They're not, well, technically, I think in D&D, giant scorpions are supposed to be like man-sized or something. These are like small dog-sized, which is much larger than a natural scorpion, but yeah, still. I try to look at how real scorpions are colored. They're often, it's difficult. Often the legs are kind of, they look almost translucent in a sort of tan yellow color in pictures, and you can't really get that effect on a miniature. And whereas the shells on the body often look almost black. So yeah, that would look odd on a miniature. So I just went, I sort of compromised and went for darker on the carapace and lighter on the legs. And I kept some glossiness on it because again, the chitin on a scorpion in pictures that I've sourced online look pretty glossy. So yeah, that's them. Happy with the progress I've made this week. So let's see what else I'm working on. And here we have the big jumble. I don't actually paint with all of these in front of me at the same time. A lot of them are standing on the side, and on this cutting board I just have a few that I'm currently adding paint to. But for the purposes of demonstration, I've collected them all here. Well, in the background we have Popeye as usual, waiting patiently for me to feel the urge to paint him again. Anyway, we have the cat people from Spellcrow here at the back, just started. We have a little bit more paint applied to these hassle-free monsters, just some undercoats mostly of dark pink metallics. And these 4 Reaper figures, basically I've done the dirt on the basis, and that's it. And finally the Goroloth, I think nothing new has happened since last time you saw it. On the Kraken, there's been a bit more color done. I consider the inside of the mouth here, the maw, to be finished now. It's not terribly detailed or interesting, but you know, a lot of this is going to be hidden behind the huge mass of tentacles that's going to be in the front of the face. So I didn't want to overdo such a hidden area. But there's a bit more work on the body to do, especially the carapace, the green, the shell on top. I want to add a lot more to before I consider it done. And currently I've masked off the masked portion here that I'm holding. The tape is falling off a little bit, but never mind. So as I've mentioned before, I'm gonna put this on a once I'm done with the body here, I'm going to attach this to the base portion, and so it has me to hold it while I glue on the tentacles and then paint them. Yeah, well, there we go. Oh no, one more thing. Let's look at the progress of the cultists. Okay, here's where we're at with these cultists. I'm not sure where the focus is. It's down there, isn't it? Oh well. Anyway, so I wanted to have flagstone textures on their bases, and so I had to cover the slots. I mean, they had tabs on under them, but the thing is, if you glue something with a tab into a slotted base, you can't really stamp a texture on afterwards. You have to do it beforehand, and then you can't use the tab. So I had to I had sawed the tabs off all of these, and instead put pins in the bottoms of them. And then I stamped some textures out of this is gray stuff, actually, not green stuff. And boom, I'm gonna pin them. Now the bigger ones, this is actually a mixture of gray and green stuff. This is why it's slightly a different color. These came out better because they were made
with putting the putty on directly on the base and then pressing it into the stamp. These were done a different way. They were done using these molds to make the textures, and then I glued them onto the bases. This was to save time covering up the slot. Unfortunately, it made for uneven impressions. You can see, for example, here, because I spread out an uneven amount of putty, apparently, and the molds are kind of soft. It's hard to get a distinct impression that way. They work better when you're making inserts for, you know, those kind of lipped bases. I think I'm gonna have to go back to what I used to do, which is I would first use green stuff to fill up the slot, or at least cover it, so I get a flat surface on the base, and let that set, and then I would put more putty on it and just press it onto the mold or stamp. That way you can get a clearer impression. I mean, if you have like one of these, what you do is you place it on there and you can sort of wiggle it around to make sure you get all the nooks and crannies of the base filled up. Anyway, in this case I'm gonna cover up the less well-defined parts by trying to place the minis on them so they cover that up and only show the well-defined stone textures. But I will do the pinning before priming and painting. Yeah. And I'm going to place this throne on a base as well. But I don't think I'm going to attach where put him somewhere else. The guy sitting on the throne, I'm probably going to keep him loose and separate so he can be removed. Because, well, first because it's easier to paint that way. That's a big part of the reason. The other reason being that if you're using it in game, I mean, maybe the figure who's sitting on the throne wants to get up and move around, and it looks kind of weird if there's a figure, you know, permanently glued to the throne, and oh, never mind him, ignore him, this other figure represents that guy now. That's a bit of a stretch. So if I have the sitting guy here and he's loose, when he gets up I can just take him away and use another figure, use one of the others to represent him. I'm overthinking this, aren't I? Yeah, I tend to do that. What else? Oh yes, interestingly, this card that came with has some nice artwork on the other side. However, I'm not going with this paint's color scheme. It's way too monochromatic. It's like pink and red, and tan and red, red and red. No. I'm gonna go for more color variation. I think the tentacles, I can go with the sort of a pink or purple. That's fine. But the robes, I'll do something else. Not red. I've done too many red robed cultists already. But yeah, that's in the works. When it comes to deciding what to paint next, or what to start prepping next, this week is Reaper week, and I'm going to go with another big project, because, well, the two current big projects seem to be moving along relatively well. Oh well. Also, I've got a lot of I prepped this huge batch of cultists just now, so I need to slow down and take a single mini, or rather, these are two minis. This is one of the box sets for Mossbeard the Tree Man, and it contains, well, oh, nothing, just foam. Oh, just kidding. Here we have a bunch of pieces. We have the Dryad, who's a single mini, and then we have a bunch of pieces of metal which go together. Look like broccoli a bit.
And oh, they need cleaning up because the fingers are connected with the sprue. Huh. That's odd. Yeah, so I'm gonna have to look at how to prep and how to base this. It's not a huge mini, but it's a pretty large one, and it'll be fun to see how it goes together. I have no idea as of yet. So let's look at some stats. And this week, my pile of unpainted miniatures increases by exactly one single mini. This arrived in a package with mostly books that I brought from a retailer called Noble Knight Games that sells used or secondhand or out of print stuff. They have mostly role-playing books, but they also have carry minis, and I bought some of each. And the only mini I got this time around was the first edition Desolation Engine from Malifaux, which is a big, beefy monster. I ordered this so long ago, I don't exactly remember why I wanted it, but I did, and so I got it. And, well, I'll add it to my boxes of unpainted Malifaux. That concludes this episode. It was something, and there will be something more in a week. Join me then. Same time, same channel. But for now, click like, subscribe, comment, and have fun. I'm Dakian, and I'm signing off.